Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call the City of Menasha Administration Committee meeting to order. Clerk Kraut-Kramer, could we have the roll, please?
Alderman Tom Grady. Here. Alderman Ted Grady. Here. Alderman Rapella. Here. Alderman Nichols.
Here.
Alderman Eisenach.
Here.
Alderman Sevenik. Here. Alderman Hammond. Here. Alderman Schmidt. Here. All are present.
Thank you. The first item of business this evening is to approve the minutes from the Administration Committee meeting of August 15th, 2022. Is there a motion? Alderman Rapella.
Thank you very much, Alderman Nichols. I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from the Administration Committee dated 8/15/2022.
Second.
Motion by Alderman Rapella, seconded by Alderman Ted Grady to approve the minutes from the Administration Committee meeting of August 15th. Any questions or changes to the minutes? I have one correction to provide, and that is item D1, about the review of the City of Menasha audit. In the motion, moved by Alderman Rapella, seconded by Alderman Schmidt, my correction is to remove to recommend to Common Council, because that is simply accepted at the committee level. Alderman Rapella, did you have anything else to add?
No, I did not.
Okay. So the minutes as corrected, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. The minutes are approved. We have two discussion action items this evening. The first is the joint powers agreement from Winnebago County Emergency 911 System. This is something we receive on an annual basis. Chief Styka, if you would just provide a brief summary of what this agreement is about.
I was asking Kevin if he wanted to address it, but
We worked it out ahead of time.
Oh, did he? He deferred. Fantastic. Well, this is probably the easiest thing we'll do tonight. The joint powers agreement is basically by statute, you have to be able to answer a 911 phone. And in the city of Menasha, that happens down in Oshkosh. So we have a joint dispatch center throughout the entire county. And this basically is authorizing, the city of Menasha is agreeing that the county, Winnebago County, will be handling the 911 system for the county. So that's in a nutshell what the agreement is for. This is identical to what you have approved over the last, since I've been doing this, so at least the last 11 years.
Thank you so much. Any questions?
Used to be in Menasha, wasn't it?
Actually, yes. When we used to have two dispatch centers, the original dispatch center was in the basement of the public safety building for a whole bunch of years. Yep.
Seeing no other discussion, we'll entertain a motion. Alderman Rapella.
Thank you. I'll make a motion to approve the joint powers agreement for Winnebago County Emergency 911 System.
Is there a second? Motion made by Alderman Rapella, seconded by Alderman Tom Grady to recommend to council the joint powers agreement. Any other discussion? Seeing none, we'll take a roll call vote.
Motion carries 8-0.
Item number 2 this evening is ordinance 1822, an ordinance amending relating to the undesignated fund balance of the general fund. And to be more specific, it is an ordinance amending Title 3, Section 3-1-3C of the Code of Ordinances related to the undesignated fund balance of the general fund. Is there a motion? Alderman Sevenik.
Thank you, Chair. At this time, I'd like to move for the adoption or recommend it to the Common Council 1822, the ordinance amending relating to the undesignated fund balance of the general fund.
Second. I seconded. Thank you. Motion made by Alderman Sevenik, seconded by Alderman Nichols to recommend to Common Council Ordinance 1822. Alderman Sevenick?
Thank you. The reason, well, this was addressed earlier today in the public by Ms. Taylor, and she thought that maybe we should be at 15%. Well, had I not done this, it would have stayed at 6%. And after we had our review the other day with, what was the name of the organization?
Clifton Larson Allen.
That did our audit. I had asked that question, and the only reason it dropped to 6% was because of our financial situations and the steam utility, and we have proven to be much more solvent than in the past, and I thought we should increase that amount. And I did not want to throw the 15%, because that's actually the high end for communities, and I thought we should start out, at least for the coming year or years, at 10%, and we can always, if things turn out better for us down the road, we can up that. So I conversed this with Jennifer. She agreed with me. She also contacted the audit individuals, and they also thought that this was a good step.
Thank you. Director Sassman, this ordinance says that we were at 6%. Can you just talk a little bit about where we were, where we are now, and where we hope to head in the future?
Yeah, so we were at 10% for probably a number of years. In 2009, we lowered that to 6%, as Alderman Sevenick had indicated. And like I said, I'd like this to be kind of a two-step approach. We haven't hit that 15% yet, so therefore we do not want to adopt something that we cannot maintain. However, we have made great strides in the last at least 4 years to get closer to that, I think, minimum 15% for the city of Menasha. We ended 2021 at 13.1%. So we are above that, but we just are not to that 15 yet.
Thank you. Any other questions or discussion? Seeing none, we'll take a roll call vote.
Motion carries 8-0.
Thank you. And the last item of business this evening is held over from our last meeting, and that is Ordinance 922, an ordinance amending Title II, Chapter 4, Section 2-4-16 of the Code of Ordinances relating to the creation of a sustainability committee. 2 members were absent the last time we discussed this ordinance, and so it was held over to this meeting. I did confer with the city attorney, and he indicated that it is appropriate to start over with a motion for the ordinance, just as we did in the previous meeting. We would just start as if it was our first time discussing this ordinance. Alderman Sevenick?
There were motions made, there were amendments, an amendment on the floor. I don't have a problem with that. I'm just, if he could explain that.
Attorney Walsh.
Thank you, Chair. In considering this issue, I looked at the minutes from the last meeting. There was a motion to approve by Alderman Hammond and second by Alderman Schmidt. I believe that was the version that is in tonight's packet without any red line modifications. There was a motion to amend that ordinance that failed on a tie vote. There was a subsequent motion made to amend the original ordinance that the minutes do not reflect received a second. So that motion technically fails due to lack of a second.
I didn't-
The committee then adjourned without taking a final vote on the original motion. So technically, nothing passed, and my suggestion would be, since there are two new members, the committee may want to consider beginning with a motion on the original ordinance and then pursuing discussion from that point, since there are two new members.
Thank you for that clarification. Alderman Severnik, did you have anything else to add?
I don't believe that is correct, but I think I would agree that this would make it simpler for us. The minutes could be incorrect. I believe there was a motion and a second, and it got to the point where the discussion went on too long that we thought that maybe we could come back later to resolve some of these with some changes brought forward. So, but anyways, I'm okay with that. Let's do it the way that the attorney is recommending.
Attorney Walsh?
Well, just to clarify, Alderman, you are correct. There was a motion and a second made. There was considerable discussion, but no vote taken on that motion. That's just my recommendation. It is the ruling of the chair to decide what the committee would do. And you can certainly appeal the ruling of the chair if you want to do that.
I know how to do that. I'm not doing that.
Thank you.
Because I can make, because it'd be too confusing.
Alderman Hammond.
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to make a motion for O-9-22, an ordinance creating Title II, Chapter 4, Section 2-4-16 of the Code of Ordinances Sustainability Committee, introduced by myself.
We have a motion by Alderman Hammond and a second by Alderman Tom Grady to recommend Common Council O-9-22. Any discussion? Alderman Hammond?
Thank you. I would like to make a motion to adopt the substitute amendment, which was one of the versions that was included in this. There's some language changes in the composition and the appointments, particularly about a topic of interest in the previous meeting that had a little bit of contention and different viewpoints on non-residents that work within the city, attend UWO Fox Cities, whether they should be voting members on this committee or not. With the substitute amendment, it would offer for folks to be able to serve on this committee, but as a non-voting member for a year term.
So Alderman Hammond has offered to bring forward the substitute amendment, and that is his motion. Is there a second? Is there a point of clarification necessary? Attorney Walsh.
Ask the chair and I can respond. Is that correct? Question directed to the chair? Yes.
Is he allowed to
Here's-
do that? I'm sorry, Alderman Grady.
Can you do both amendments at once? Don't we have to vote on one first?
Well, he's offering an amendment, and that is the substitute amendment. So we have a motion on the floor for ordinance 922, and that is the first one that you see in your packet. And now he's offering an amendment to that, which is the substitute amendment provided in your packet by Alderman Hammond, and so it would function just as any amendment would.
Yes, it is technically an amendment by substitution. So rather than consider the original motion, you're considering the amended motion as what's on the floor at this point, if there's a motion and a second in that regard.
Yes, so we have an amendment on the floor. Is there a second to that amendment? I will second that amendment. So the item for discussion, that's a motion to amend by Alderman Hammond, a second by Alderman Nichols, and the motion on the floor, or sorry, the amendment on the floor is now your substitute amendment. Attorney Walsh, did you have anything to add to that?
No, that's correct.
Thank you. Alderman Ted Grady.
Thank you, Chair. So the amendment for the Sustainability Board that Alderman Hammond's recommending is that if they're not residents of Menasha, they can be in the board, but they're not allowed to vote. Is that correct?
Yes, the Sustainability Committee shall consist of 7 members who are residents of the city, an additional 2 members who own property, work in the city, or go to school in the city may be appointed as non-voting members.
Oh, it's not voting.
Voting members will have 3-year terms. Any non-voting members would have 1-year term.
Okay, thank you, Chair.
You're welcome. Any other questions or discussions on the amendment? Alderman Sevenick.
I can throw my support at that. I think it's a fair compromise. So I'll stick to the amendment, but I have further discussion.
The floor is available for other discussion because
No,
We're-
we have to stay on the amendment until we vote on it.
the amendment is the entire ordinance on the one that says substitute amendment on that page. It's the entire thing, so anything you have to say.
So if I want to add another amendment? So if I wanted to add another amendment, I would do that now before we vote?
You could amend. What I'm looking at is this version with the red lines in it. That is subject to amendment at this time, yes.
Right. Usually what we do is if someone offers something like that, we vote on it, and then we ask, are there any additional amendments? We don't continue to add amendments on top of amendments until because that's where the confusion comes in. Becky?
And we're just doing it differently today. Attorney
Thank you.
Walsh.
Just to clarify, the question was, can you make an amendment at this point? The answer to that question is yes.
Yes, you're right.
However, you can only make one more because you've made one. If you make another amendment, that would be referred to as an amendment to the second degree because it's a second amendment. And amendments to the third degree are not permitted. And that's based on your point, Alderman Sevenick, that it then gets too confusing to figure out what we're voting on. So a motion at this point to amend the amendment is in order.
So in order to make any other changes on this, I can add additional amendments?
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. So let's say there was another area that, I have other questions. I have questions about, for instance, I gotta find it. I was thinking about the appointment of the alderperson to this committee. If that person should maybe be appointed by the Common Council and not necessarily just assume that it should be the mayor. Because in this, it assumes the mayor does it.
Well,
Good. Becky has a question.
Attorney Walsh.
I'm not saying what amendment you should make.
No, I that.
I don't make decisions. I just give advice.
I realize that.
There are a couple of ways you could do it, Alderman. You could either make one amendment now, or you could vote on this amendment and then make subsequent amendments.
That's what I was saying earlier.
Yes, that you can do.
That's what I was
You
telling
can,
Ms.
you can make
Nichols.
amendments, vote on those, make more amendments, vote on those. You don't have to make an amendment on top of an amendment.
So I say
Okay.
we vote on this, that doesn't mean the ordinance is passed. We still can offer amendments at this point, and then vote on it as amended.
Are you asking me? That's correct. That's correct.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. Attorney, I'm going to come back to you, Alderman Sevenick, then,
Okay.
because I saw Alderman Tom Grady's light on, and is this concerning the voting members amendment?
He can, you.
I did not. I don't know how that happened. There you go.
Thank you. I wasn't here for the last amendment that didn't go through, but I was satisfied with that one. The only thing, I'm just giving a personal opinion right now, I would never sit on a committee where I had not a voice. I think that is a waste of time to ask an individual to do. So that's just my comment on, I was fine with the First Amendment.
Thank you. Any other discussion on this First Amendment? Alderman Sevenick?
So that amendment that you were concerned about was that they should be a resident of the city of Menasha or a property owner? I think that's the one that failed on a tie vote. And can that be offered again? I mean, it failed, but we're starting new again, so.
This
But-
is a new process.
But then we'd be adding two more. That's where the confusion came in, because now we're going to have,
Okay.
if I offered that right now, then there's two amendments on the floor.
I'm not seeing any discussion, any additional discussion on this First Amendment about
But I agree with what you're saying,
two
Tom. I
members
wouldn't want,
and non-voting members. So Alderman Hammond?
Just for a point of clarification, Alderman Sevenick, are you suggesting instead of voting on this substitute amendment with the non-voting members, two in addition to the seven for the makeup of the committee, that we would just hold a vote on the original version?
that's what I heard from Tom, but.
Okay.
Tom was just expressing his concern on the amendment as it is right now.
Okay, thank you.
Seeing no other discussion on this First Amendment, let's take a roll call vote on it.
This is the amendment that says an additional two members who own property may be appointed as non-voting members. If we vote yes, then this is the one that's going through, right?
Correct.
Non-voting members.
If,
If we vote yes, that's what we're voting for.
correct,
Gotcha. All right.
the red line version.
Vote.
Okay.
Motion carries 7-1.
Any other discussion on the ordinance as amended? Alderman Sevenick?
I have some general discussion about this, and I guess I have a question for the mayor. Because this was an ad hoc committee, and ad hoc committees are only supposed to be in existence for, I believe, the year. And there's another ad hoc committee that you pretty much just decided to disband, even though that committee doesn't want to be disbanded. So do we have to make that a regular committee now, too? I mean, really, what this sustainability committee is to make recommendations to the common council, period, whether they're a standing committee or a ad hoc committee. The mayor has indicated earlier there will not be a budget for the sustainability committee. And so my understanding then is the reason he and Alderman Harmon would like this is so that there can be term limits. Basically, that they could serve for 3 years. And then now with the new amendment, is that appointed every 1 year, right?
The non-voting
That's what I
members
said.
are appointed every year. Regular voting members are appointed to 3-year terms.
And I just threw that monkey wrench out there to wonder, the council has less than a handful of appointments. The mayor has some 50-something appointments. Would it be wise that and also too, and we're in a unique situation where Mr. Hammond or Alderman Hammond is on that committee now and is also now an alderman. So after this, would you be coming forward with a recommendation to nominate him to serve out for the rest of the year?
Mayor Merkes?
I don't have a issue if you would rather have it be a council appointment. What would happen if this is approved would be I'd bring back appointments for the 5 committee members that are already there as well as the alderman.
Okay.
Whether it's, or the 5 committee members and then the council would choose
So
the
maybe
alderman.
that once this is approved.
That's what would happen. And we would appoint the members with staggered terms. So some would be 3 years, some would be 2 years, some would be 1 year.
That was my next question.
Yes.
How are you going to do that?
I'm not sure which ones we'll choose for which spots.
So you'll decide that then?
Yeah, we'll have that on the agenda with their terms so that they will stagger over
See, and that's
time.
not in here, but if
It
you're
It
able.
does say staggered, initial
is.
term
I
staggered.
understand that, but how is he going to do it at this point? So, all right, that answers that question. I guess we just pass it. huh?
Alderman Hammond?
Thank you, Chair. And I just kind of wanted to dive into the reasoning for wanting this ordinance to begin with, because 2 of the elder persons weren't here in our previous meeting. Just to set term limits, like the mayor had made mention, there's folks who are involved with the Sustainability Committee who have been on there for a while. And the running joke's kind of they don't want to feel like they're there for life, so that's part of it. In addition to ad hoc is a temporary thing, and we as a city should, I think, hold sustainability at a higher precedent, and we should have it as a standing committee. And I think having a elder person that's appointed every year to serve on that committee keeps that accountability and that persistence with the topic of discussion here on council. So those are the reasons really for this committee. I think it's around 12 years we have it as an ad hoc committee, and I think that definitely oversees how long a ad hoc committee should live, and it's long overdue that we have this as a standing committee. So that's the reason for it. And some of the substitute amendment that was brought forward was based off of discussion we had in the previous council meeting and our tie that came to an amendment that was suggested. So this was intended to be a sort of compromise to get more folks in support and make everyone feel comfortable with it. So with that, I yield.
Thank you.
Last point.
Alderman Sevenick?
I think, Mayor, I may have asked you this question before too, but, usually like the park board, obviously, the park director handles the park board situations. Who's going to be the overseer of this committee?
For as long as I'm mayor, it would be in the mayor's office.
Okay.
The next mayor may choose to hand that off to someone else. It originally was formed under community development. When Greg retired, that's when the mayor's office took that over.
Sam, you I'm just kidding.
Sam probably doesn't need any more committees. It probably should go under Nina Menasha Fire, I'm thinking.
Seeing no other discussion, we'll take a roll call vote on ordinance 922 as amended.
Motion carries 8-0.
Thank you, and with that, we'll look for a motion to adjourn. Okay, motion by Alderman Nichols, second by Alderman Rapella. And all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. We are adjourned.